everybody. Welcome back to the Hello Goddess podcast. I am your host, Mandy Dea, a recently graduated naturopath. And today we have a special guest. Her name is Jen. Hi, Jen.
Hi, Mandy. Hello.
I'm super happy to have you on the show. Jen is a psychic healer from Leeds, UK. So that's really, really cool that we got to connect online, and I'm really happy to have you on the show.
Thanks so much. I'm so excited to be here, and it's so lovely of you to invite me. So thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. It was an absolute pleasure to meet you. Like I said, we always do like a pre-interview, and I loved her energy. Like you have such a warm, like motherly energy, and I was really happy to connect with you.
That's amazing. That's such a lovely thing to say. Thank you. You've just made my day.
Aw, it's true. All
Yeah,
right.
thanks.
So, um, we know psychic healer. Uh, when I think of psychic healer, I think of two different things. Like I do Reiki, so healing, I do like energy healing, but then I think of psychic, I think of mediums and people that can see in the future, like clairvoyance. How do you merge the two? Like, is there like how do you explain what you do?
Okay, I think that's such a valid point. And I think quite a lot of people find psychic healing quite scary. They find it quite a scary concept. So for me, psychic healing is I believe completely in God. I didn't used to believe in God. Since I started doing this work, I have no doubt that God exists because of the astonishing, amazing, wonderful things I've seen happen. And I believe that I've been put on earth to serve God, and that what happens is that I channel God's love. So it's like the way I explain it to people, the way I see myself is I see myself as a tap, or I see myself as a hose pipe plugged into a tap, which comes out of a reservoir. And the reservoir is infinite love. It's more water than you could imagine ever existing. And I'm a hose pipe that I can switch the tap on and I can carry the water, I can carry God's love through the hose pipe, and then I can spray the hose pipe. I can attach. I can spray you with the water. I can direct the water, but it's not really me doing it. It's me who's acting as the channel. I'm the conduit for the energy to come through. But I believe that I am being guided and directed. The people who are holding my hand and showing my hand where to point the water are my spirit guides and my spirit team, my angels and my spirit guides who work for God. And I work for God, and I work with them for God. That's how so I get a message from God or from my angels when I'm working with you. I get a message that I need to look at this chart and that I need to look at that word, and that's the thing I need to help you let go of. And I know I get told that that's you were 3 and 4 when that happened, or you were 10 or 11 when that happened. So that's the psychic bit, I think, is my being able to tune into ask your subconscious self and your higher self, what can I do to help you today with the issue that you came to me for help with? I don't know if I explained that very well, Mandy, but that's kind of an explanation. Sorry, I got a bit lost there, but that's what I
No,
think it is.
you explained it beautifully. I completely understand what you mean. That's beautiful. So it's kind of like a channel. So with Reiki, it's similar where I channel the Reiki energy and then but I do it just with my hands. But with you, from what I understand, it can be done, on video because you're communicating with a person, correct?
Yes, that's right.
Mm.
So because I'm working with your energy, and we are energy, we are all energy. I believe we are all energy. It doesn't matter if you're on the other side of the world. In fact, lots of my clients are on the other side of the world. So
Hmm.
all I do is I set the intention, I open myself, I say a prayer, I say quite a few prayers before I start working with you, and
Hmm.
then I channel the energy. And what happens for me, sometimes I get a burning. I don't know if you get that burning in my crown. I don't know
Hmm.
if that happens for you. And
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
when it's coming through me. And
Hmm.
but not like you. I'm not like you with the hands. I don't do, yeah, I don't know how it goes. I don't know how
Hmm.
it gets to you, but it gets to you.
That's beautiful. I love what you explained right there. And that's a very unique gift that you have. I've never heard it explained that way before. I'm curious to know, you probably have such a beautiful and interesting and unique history. Did you always have this gift, or did something trigger it? Like what happened there for you to develop these psychic abilities?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Mandy. I didn't always have this gift, or perhaps I did and I didn't know I had the gift. So what happened to me, my story was that I was adopted. When I was a baby, I was adopted straight into my adopted family. And they were wonderful and lovely and amazing, and they loved me so much, and I loved them so much.
Hmm.
But what happened for me was I had a parallel reality going on all of my life until I was about 55, when I decided I really needed to change something because I wasn't happy with how I was and how I projected and what my outcomes were. And the parallel reality I had that was running through my life was that I wasn't good enough. And
Mm-hmm.
I believed that I wasn't good enough because my mother gave me away and she didn't love me. And therefore, I must have been the worstest, horriblest baby in the world.
Hmm.
So that came from a very young age. I mean, I don't think anyone told me that. I think it's just a thing that I formed in my subconscious mind when I was very small. And then I didn't really know, to be honest, I didn't actually know I had it until I started doing this work in my 50s. And but my outcomes were very clearly, when I look back, I can see that my outcomes were all aligned to not being good enough. Because I
Mm-hmm.
believe completely that if we have a subconscious message or some sort of belief system going on in our deep, deep inner beings, our thoughts form our words, and our words fall out form our actions, is what I believe. And
Mm-hmm.
my thoughts were that I wasn't good enough, so I manifested not good enough. I manifested I couldn't make money. I couldn't manifest money. Um, I used to manifest failure. I just wasn't good enough. And so when I was 50, 55, 56, I just looked at myself and I didn't like myself very much, you know. I didn't like who I was. I didn't like the things I heard myself saying. I didn't like my outcomes. I didn't like how it just seemed that I always expected failure. I never expected success. And I was speaking to a financial advisor of all things, a man, a financial advisor who was a man. And I know that this is typecast and I know that this is making assumptions, but I was very surprised when he told me that he went to an energy healer and he said, "Would you like her card?" And I said,
Mm-hmm.
"Yes." And I'd never
Wow.
done energy healing before. I'd been for Reiki, but it hasn't resonated with me. It wasn't something I had pursued, but he said, anyway, he said, "This woman's amazing. She's a kinesiologist. I think you should go and have a look at what she can do." And I went to this woman and she was a kinesiologist. So what that means is she listens to your body. So she does a hands-on thing. She put her fingers on my wrist like this and she listened to my body while I was lying on her therapy couch. Now, I
Mm-hmm.
went to her for money issues. I went for abundance. I wanted her to heal my abundance, my lack of abundance. And she put her fingers on my wrist and she said, "Who abandoned you?" And I was astonished.
Wow.
I was absolutely speechless.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, well, there's something here. And I worked with her and I still see her now. I'm
Mm-hmm.
66 now, it's 10 years ago. I
Mm-hmm.
still see her now. I'm a healing junkie because my life has changed so much. My life has just transformed into places I could never have imagined.
Mm-hmm.
And my money story has healed. So much of my mother wound has healed. I'm just happier than I've ever been. And and that's why I started, because she was working with me and I thought, I wonder if I could do this.
Mm-hmm.
And I did, and slowly, slowly, baby steps, baby steps, baby steps, my psychic ability just revealed. As I started working
Mm-hmm.
with this work, I became more and more in tune with sort of with spirit and with God and with my spirit team and
Mm-hmm.
knowing what were the right things to do, and just it grew. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for being vulnerable and sharing that story, because I know that even if somebody did not get adopted, they could definitely still connect to the idea of unworthiness. That is like a pattern that we see like I struggled with that. I still struggle with that. And it's just like, it takes a lot of deep work, maybe even seeking help from somebody like you, and trying to work through that because it does, when you feel unworthy, it affects every aspect of your life. You don't feel worthy, so you're gonna self-sabotage your income or your relationships or, whatever you're trying to manifest in your life, it won't show up because you don't think you're worthy of it. So that's a very powerful message. And I love what you said about your gift opening up after, all these chains of events that I think the universe plans before our birth. Like things are meant to happen in a certain way. And even though we do have free will, some aspects of our lives are planned in a beautiful way because we're here to do something amazing, each of us. And so thank you so much for sharing that. And if you're listening and you're hearing this and thinking, oh, that's, you know, that's out of reach for me, like I could never developed any like intuition I think everybody has intuition. It presents in a different way. For me, maybe it's one way, and for Jen, it's a different way, and for you, it's a third way. But it's really connecting with that inner guidance that's always there for us. Mm.
Yeah, I think that's a lovely message. I think it's such an important message because I think, you know, honestly, the person I am now and the person I was 10 years ago are miles apart.
Hmm.
And I honestly think that, and sometimes I don't feel like doing the work, Mandy. I still do the work on myself. I do
Wow.
EFT tapping as well
Yeah.
as doing psychic energy work. And EFT tapping is accessible to anyone. You
Hmm.
don't have to be a practitioner. It's something you can do on your own. And I don't sometimes feel like doing the work. I can't be bothered. But when I think about and I look at myself and I look at where I was and where I am now, I do the work because it's just
Hmm.
so worthwhile and because I'm worthwhile. And I didn't used to believe I was worthwhile. And
Hmm.
now I do. And that is just life. It's transformational. It's
Hmm.
absolutely transformational. And I think anyone, I just, my message is kind of, it's never too late because, hello, I was 55 when I started doing this,
Yeah.
and it's never too late. And it's accessible. If you decide, for me, what happened was, and I don't know if you could, I'm sure you can relate to this because you're very empathetic. I think that, when you're ready, the doors appear and doors open and teachers appear on your path.
Hmm.
And that's who that financial advisor was for me. I'd made up my
So
mind,
beautiful.
not made up my mind, but I just sort of wasn't happy. I didn't like what was happening. I didn't like what was going on. And he appeared for me. And I
Yeah.
honestly believe that when you make the decision in your own heart and in your own mind, I believe that things start to change.
Hmm. Hmm. I love the word decision. To me, it's like it's such a powerful word because once you decide, that's when things start to shift energetically. And uh again with the financial advisor, I love that God or whatever you call it, the universe God showed up in that way for you. So that's so interesting to me. It wasn't like somebody tip that you would typically expect that kind of advice from, but that's really cool to me too. And so I'm curious to know what kind of what kind of issues do you work through the most with people that come to you for healing?
Anxiety is enormous. Anxiety is absolutely huge. So many people suffer from anxiety. And when I say
Hmm.
suffer, I use the word very deliberately. Many people have come to me for anxiety, so much so that I've just become a teacher on Insight Timer, and I've created
Mm,
a free meditation, and I've just created a second one. The first one is up, the second one is coming
that's
on
amazing.
anxiety.
I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah, thanks. Yeah, me too. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
But anxiety is huge, and it's a lot of my work is with anxiety.
Hmm.
A lot of my work is with I'm not good enough. Yeah, because of
Hmm.
my experience of not being good enough and knowing how that I was able to move through that. I support other people doing that, and also because spirit guide me, and they say humanity doesn't have self-love. We need self-love, so we need to work on things like I forgive myself and I forgive others because forgiveness is enormous, absolutely huge. So as soon as we start forgiving ourselves and forgiving others, our lives, just things just start opening up for us. I work with forgiveness. I work with not good enough. I work with, the mental anguish, the sort of limiting beliefs and the things that we say about ourselves. And, the same old, same old. So people, the three big things, of course, are money, health, and relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm sure you find that in your world, in your Reiki world, that people, those are the three main things. At the core
Mm-hmm.
of all of that is I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. You used the expression I'm not worthy, and that really resonated with
Mm-hmm.
me. Because
Mm-hmm.
when we're not worthy to have the relationship, we're not worthy to have the love, we're not worthy to have the money, we're not worthy to have the career success, we're not worthy, even health. Mandy, I'll tell you what, I used to get
Mm-hmm.
sick all the time. I used to have colds
Wow.
and flu and ear infections all the time.
That's incredible.
And it was because my
Crazy.
body was saying, you know what, you can't be bothered. You're just not worth it. Don't worry, just get sick. And
Mm-hmm.
now I don't. I'm not anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That just goes to show the power of the energy that you carry. It affects every aspect of your life, like your health and your relationships, and like we were saying, money as well. It's so interesting to me that all of that roots down to feelings of worthiness, feeling that you belong here, that you're supposed to be here, that you have a purpose here. And and I think it's so interesting to me that when we have a certain mission, this is a pattern that I noticed with a lot of people, even on the show. The mission that they have is connected with something that they lacked and they rediscovered. You know what I mean? Like for me, it was a self-love, the lack of self-love. And now the work that I do, I really focus on that because I know what it feels like to not have it. And I don't want anyone else to feel that way. So,
Yes.
yeah. So
Mm.
beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing everything and for being on the show. This is so interesting to me. Yeah.
Thank you. I think what you've said some amazing stuff that's really
Mm-hmm.
resonated. I love the fact that you focus on self-love. I think it's so important. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
absolutely key.
And what you said about forgiveness too, I believe that one of the highest spiritual practice is forgiveness, but
Mm.
sometimes we forget to forgive ourselves. We kind of have the
Yes.
tendency to want to forgive other people that we love, and we forget to forgive ourselves because we're not perfect. Nobody's perfect on this earth, and it could be a very powerful practice.
Yes.
So after all of this and discovering that your gift in your 50s and now 10 years later, you're still doing the work, you're still healing yourself, and you're helping all of these people now. What is the message? Like, if you could say anything in the world right now to help other people, what do you want people to know?
I would say, look, I mean, obviously I'm speaking from my perspective, but I'm also speaking from the perspective of the hundreds of people I've worked with.
Hmm.
And that perspective is that self-love and self-forgiveness, self-acceptance are absolutely fundamental and they are foundational to everything. If you've got a business, if you've got a little business that you're running and you find that you're not making money or that you're stopping and starting with your business, you have a fabulous bonus month and then your next month there's nothing and then bumper month, have a look at what's going on inside because chances are that you're not feeling worthy. So what we do with that is we put the brakes on and then we accelerate. And then we put the brake on and then we accelerate. And that then is the pattern of the business. But it's also the pattern of if you're looking for the relationship, it's a pattern of the
Mm-hmm.
relationship or attracting the kind of partner who doesn't really serve you, because
Hmm.
they're abusive towards you
Hmm.
or weight issues,
Hmm.
because we're being
Yeah.
abusive. Yeah.
Hmm.
We're stuffing our bodies with food that doesn't serve our bodies. We're eating too much. We're eating candy. We're drinking Coke. It's because we're just not showing self-love to ourselves. I honestly think that self-love and forgiveness, I would say that for humanity, and this is also what my spirit guides have told me. They've told me it's about self-love.
Hmm.
We don't love ourselves enough. We don't love ourselves much at all. We're very good at loving other people, and putting other people's needs first very often,
Mhm.
but we don't love ourselves. And I
Mm,
think that's the key. I think once you can move into a space of self-love, everything else falls into place.
mm. Powerful, powerful. And it's so true that sometimes the simplest lesson is the most powerful one. Like to learn to love yourself, to learn to forgive yourself. If you focused on that your whole life, you could transform your whole life from top to bottom. So that's really
Yeah,
powerful. What do you think blocks people from loving or forgiving themselves?
I think because we don't believe we're worthy.
Mm,
So we can't forgive ourselves because we were so bad, we were so awful, we're so undeserving of forgiveness. Um, and we can't forgive ourselves because we're just the most awful people. And
mhm,
I think it's true with self-love as well. I mean, I used to, when I first started doing this work, I read a lot of books, and one of the books I read was Louise Hay, Heal
mm,
Your Life.
mhm.
And I love her work. I absolutely
Yeah,
love her
she's
work.
amazing. Yep.
Yeah. And I started doing mirror work with, following her guidelines. And I could not look in the mirror and look at myself in the eye and say, I love you, Jen. I really, really love you. I couldn't do it. My
Mhm,
eyes used to go everywhere, but I could not make eye contact.
mhm,
And it was very clear to me that I didn't love myself. But even doing something like that, and doing it in the mirror every day and saying, I'm willing to love you, Jen. I'm ready to love you. I'm starting to love you. Every
mhm,
day I'm loving you more and more. So it's softening the affirmation. It's softening
mhm,
the, yeah. And that is a wonderful way to start. That's a great way to start. There's so many things we could do if we wanted. I think people want to, but maybe sometimes we're a bit can't be bothered, because it's
mhm,
just too much
mhm,
fag and makes me upset, makes me cry, you
mhm,
know. So
mhm,
maybe we avoid it. But I do think there's ways we can do it quite simply for ourselves without having to go to a healing practitioner or,
mhm,
a coach or something.
mhm, mhm. So that's really powerful. I do love mirror work because, like you said, it kind of breaks that disconnection that we have. And when you look into your eyes, it's very difficult to not see who you are. You look at the soul, the eyes are the windows to the soul. So mirror work again is so powerful. Do you have other practices that you recommend to your clients usually, or things that they can practice at home when they're on their
Yes.
own, kind of like mirror work?
Yeah. Okay, so mirror work, then another one I think that is super, super powerful is journaling. So I recently had my dog die, and my dog,
Oh,
um, we moved to England from South Africa 6 years ago, and we brought our dog with us because he's part of our family.
no.
And he we loved him so much, and he recently died, and it was very traumatic and very
Mm.
stressful.
Sorry to hear that.
And thank you, thanks. But what I did with that, I think often with grief, we feel ashamed. We cry for a bit and then we say, "Oh, I've got to get over this. Got to stop doing this. Got to put your big girl pants on. Be a good big girl." And what I did was I journaled, and I do journal sometimes. I don't journal as often as I would like to, but I journaled about his death.
Mhm,
And as I journaled, I cried and cried and cried and cried, and I was so grateful. Because the work I've done with hundreds of people and with myself, I now understand that if we don't acknowledge an emotion, if we don't feel the emotion, if we don't deal with the emotion, allow the emotion to wash through us, to feel it, to check in with it, then
mhm,
what happens is we store that emotion. We hold on to that emotion. And by doing this work and sobbing and sobbing and sobbing, I was letting go huge amounts of big feelings that if I hadn't done this, I would have put the lid on and shut and just pushed away. As we do, we say, I'm too busy. The kids are shouting. I've got work to do. I haven't got time for this. So we shut them down. We push them away by
mhm,
journaling. And it's just a mind dump. It's not structured sentences. It's not comprehension. It's just whatever falls out of your head onto the page is a wonderful way of processing your feelings and really acknowledging you really might be very surprised by what you write about something.
mhm. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm,
It's a wonderful way of processing your feelings, of acknowledging your feelings, and of getting rid of stuff that doesn't serve you, that you're holding on to deep in your being. It's a wonderful way to start just letting that go. So I would say journaling, absolutely 100% journaling. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Journaling is such a powerful practice. I recommend it to my clients, whether it's naturopathy or Reiki, because, like you said, it's just becoming aware of what's going on in your head and kind of like putting all on paper. And sometimes when you reread it, you kind of see it from an outside perspective and you get that insight that you're looking for. That's so interesting. So I would love to know, like, I know you offer one-on-one services, but do you have other things that you offer, with your business?
Yes, I have lots of group work. I think the reason I'm being shown to do group work is so that I can serve more people and
Yeah.
more people can get the benefit of healing. I have a healing circle which runs every Thursday and is completely remote with people all around the world. And each person comes in completely anonymously. No one knows they're there except me. And each person can work on one thing. So we can work on whatever is at the root of and causing your anxiety, your incontinence, your lack of abundance, your lack of confidence. We can work on pretty much anything. And then I have tapping, I have channel tapping where I've been given the gift of channeling white light energy when we tap, and I can bring that to you in my tapping groups, and I run tapping sessions every 6 weeks. And then I have it's called a numinous week of healing. It's 6 days of healing in a group, and it's on a theme. So this theme on Friday is about letting go of your inner critic, calm your inner critic. And the inner critic, you know the inner
Yeah.
critic, don't you? We all know the inner critic.
Yeah.
So yeah. And so that's what I do. I do lots of group work. Yeah.
That's really interesting. And I love that what you said about like reaching more people because with the internet now, it's such a powerful way to make a bigger impact, and one-on-one is good too, but sometimes it's cool to have both. I will definitely put all of your links in the description box below, whether you're listening on YouTube or Spotify or whatever platform, everything is going to be there. So if you want to connect with Jen, it's going to be all there. Um, so let's go into our two final questions that I like to ask to my guests. The first one is if you could go back in time, and speak to any version of your younger self and at any time, what would you say to her?
You know, I find it a challenging question because the thing I would say is love yourself and forgive yourself.
Mm.
But you know what, Mandy, I wouldn't have heard it.
Oh
I,
wow.
I wouldn't have
Yeah,
heard it. I
yeah.
wasn't
I
ready to hear it until I was in my 50s. You could have stood on your head and shouted at me and I
Mhm,
wouldn't, it just would have gone
mhm,
because I wasn't ready to hear it. I wasn't ready to
mhm.
receive it. So I didn't know how to forgive myself. I didn't know how to love myself. I didn't know how to
Wow.
start.
Yeah.
I would have just looked at you with a blank expression. I would have looked at
It's
me.
it's so interesting. I've never heard that answer before, and that makes sense because it's kind of similar to the universe being silent during certain points in our lives because we need to learn the lesson for ourselves. So thank you for
Hmm.
sharing that. And what is your definition of a goddess?
That's also another really challenging question for me because I grew up believing I was fascinated by Greek mythology. I was absolutely riveted by it.
Wow, love
And I
that.
read lots of books about Greek mythology and about the gods and the goddesses, and Athena and her owl in Athens, and Minerva, and all of the goddesses. I just think that I thought they were amazing. I still do. And I think a goddess is, I think she's a wonderful woman, but I think she's also a very scary one. So a goddess, I'm talking about like a mythical goddess, is
Hmm.
because I know that you're looking at the human kind of goddess, but I'm thinking of like a mythical, sort of like a human
That's fine.
woman,
Yeah.
but who has these deep wells and reservoirs in her of power and and maybe even fear, where she can draw on this and she can change the world and shape the world to make it what she wants. And that would be my
Mm,
definition of goddess.
that's so powerful. Yes. I love that you spoke about Greek. Is it Greek mythology that you were into? Oh, that's so cool. I remember when I was younger, I was fascinated by Aphrodite. Is she in Greek mythology as well?
Yeah, I think
Or
I'm not sure if
Roman?
she's Greek or Roman. She might
One
be
of the
Roman.
two.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I was quite
fabulous. They're very
fascinated.
close, aren't
Yeah.
they? Yeah,
Yes, and it's just so interesting to think about these archetypes and how we can connect to these aspects of ourselves as well, where, we can draw into that power and the goddess energy. And I think the goddess energy is something that we all have, whether it doesn't matter your gender, it's something that you can tap into. So
yeah,
thank you
I
so
think
much
you're
for
right.
sharing that. Thank you. Well, oh my God, thank you so much, Jen, for being on the show. It was such an honor to speak with you and so easy to ask you questions because we had that like natural connection. So I'm really happy you came on Hello Goddess podcast.
Thank you. I've just loved talking to you. Thank you so much, Mandy. Thank you for having me on. Loved being here. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're so welcome. And again, if you're listening and you want to connect with Jen, I'll post all of her links to everything that she offers, and you can reach out, and I'm sure she would love to communicate with you. So, see you all next week. Sending you all of the love and the light. Bye.